Hey there everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Lexi and today I wanted to share with you a video on how to make these paper rosettes using a punch. A while back here, one of my projects for a Christmas in July collab that I did was these ornaments, and for these ornaments I made these little paper rosettes to go sort of behind the pictures here. And in that video I had asked if anyone wanted to see a quick tutorial on that to let me know, and there were a few ladies who commented, so I thought let me go ahead and share this with you. It's super easy. You don't need a die or die cutting machine. I just use a punch. So here are a couple that I just made today, sort of with a fall theme. This one I just kind of embellished with some lace and some twine and a little felt sunflower. And then this one here, I just used this glittery leaf and a little bit of that lace and a pumpkin. And then this one I just left blank to kind of show you sort of what the plain rosette looks like. So let me go ahead and just jump right in to the things that I use. Let me scoot these aside here. So the main thing that we need for this is this scalloped edge punch. This one is from Stampin' Up. And I just bought this at a Stamp and Scrap garage sale this past spring. It was brand new in the package and I only paid $1 for it, which was an awesome deal, obviously. I don't believe that this stamp is available any longer through Stampin' Up. I'm not sure if they have something similar, but I think you might be able to find something like this at a craft store, or if you maybe have something like this in your supply that might work as well. I also was kind of wondering about some of the scissors that kind of have these scallop typed edges might work as well, but you would want it to be a little bit bigger of a scallop. I don't have any scissors like that. I always struggle with like making my lines straight when I had used those. So I don't have any like that, but they may work as well. So, if you have anything like that in your supply or in your stash, the same principles might kind of apply to it if you want to give it a try. So I'm using this punch, a paper cutter or paper trimmer, or a pair of scissors if you don't have one of those. Also a pair of scissors. I am using my scoreboard. This one is from Martha Stewart, one of the big ones. The scoreboard makes it a lot easier, but it would be possible to do without a scoreboard if you didn't have it. And then I am just using this 6x6 paper pad. I found that the 6x6 works really well. You could obviously change the size on this if you wanted a bigger rosette. I don't know about smaller. I think smaller would be tricky, but this rosette is, how many inches is it? It's about 2.5 inches around. So yeah, I think it's a perfect little size. I definitely could see how it might be fun to do like a bigger one if you wanted to make like a wand or something like that too, but I like this size. So that's what you need. And also I use hot glue to assemble it, just because then I didn't have to wait for it to dry really, so it instantly is hard. So hot glue as well. So the first thing that I did was take my 6x6 paper, and I'm just going to cut it in half so that you have a piece of paper that's 3 inches by 6 inches. I found that to work really well here. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this. Sorry, I know it's not in frame there, but there we go. That's all we need there. So then you have 2 pieces, so you can make 2 rosettes with one 6x6 paper. Okay, so we have our paper piece there. So the first thing that I did with my scoreboard, let me see if I can lift this up a little bit. Sorry, don't mean to make anyone dizzy. Okay, so I lined it up in the corner, and so it just shows that it is 3 inches, and I'm just going to score it down the middle at 1.5. Obviously, if you didn't have a scoreboard, you could just take your piece of paper and fold it in half. or you could use a ruler and kind of mark and, you know, make a line that way too. I'm gonna set that scoreboard aside so we mark down the middle. And then the next thing we're going to do is pick one side to start on and just start with the punch. The thing that's really nice about this punch is the kind of guidelines that it has for you. So I usually just kind of start in the middle anywhere. It doesn't really matter. And then as you're moving it, you just kind of line your part that's already punched with this sort of silver area. I'm doing it on this side and continue to punch, and it just gives it... makes it so that the punch is, you know, in a straight line. So we got that side. Let me slide it back in here. And this time I'm lining it up on this side here. Maybe. There we go. Lining it up on that side, and we'll punch it all the way through. Okay, so you have something that kind of looks like this, and it will vary slightly, you know, depending on where you started your middle. I have a couple, you know, little pieces here. That's no big deal. I'm just going to trim those off, you know, when we're all done. So don't worry too much if it doesn't like line up perfectly. The nice thing about these rosettes is they're pretty forgiving to where, you know, if things aren't exactly perfectly lined up, it's no big deal. It'll probably work just fine anyways. Okay, I'm going to zoom this in here a little bit. So now what I'm going to do is use my scoreboard. You don't really need to worry about like the measurements or anything for this part. All I'm doing is I'm using the score line. And so I'm just going to make a score line right, you know, in between each of the scallops here. So I'm just going to line it up with a line here and do a score line. So when, you know, you're doing it, depending on sort of where you place it on your board, I found that sometimes I needed to move it. So I'll start here and just do a score line there. Let's see, maybe if I stay in the right spot. Okay. And then I sometimes have to, you know, if it moves on the scores here, it's no big deal. You just slide your paper over so that, like this one, I'm just going to slide it a little bit so that I'm scoring right in between those, you know, two scallops. So I'm just going to kind of keep doing this. You'll do this all the way through. Each little scallop will get a line there. These will be your fold lines that you will fold once we are done punching there. Sorry for the bump there. My desk is not really set up to be able to film tutorials the best, but I just thought I would kind of give it a try here. And if you want, you know, if you have a little end like this, you can score that. It really, like I said, doesn't matter. We're just going to trim it off at the end, but I'll go ahead and just score these just so that I have a little easier line to trim. Okay, so this is what it's looking like now. You can see where we have the scores in between, you know, each individual scallop. So those score lines now are going to be our guide for punching the opposite side. So what I did with my punch is I just flipped it over so that I could see my scalloped area there. And then I'm just going to line it up so when I put it in, I'm going to want, you know, the scallop part to line up sort of in between, sort of in the line of my score lines, if that makes sense. So that will just line it up so that your scallop at the top is connected to your scallop at the bottom. So again, I kind of go about to the middle. And I'm just going to line it up here. Let me just move this kind of out into the light so I can see. There we go. So I'm going to go right about there and punch. And then I just keep it tipped upside down. You could flip it back if you wanted to, and I'm just going to continue to line up where I already punched with the part of the punch there that I can see. Again, if this part gets off, you know, a little bit, it's really no big deal. If they're not lined up exactly, you know, if this scallop doesn't line up exactly to the top scallop, no big deal. But for the most part, I found that mine stayed pretty close, you know, to where I wanted them to be without it being too difficult. Okay, so let me get rid of our little crumbly pieces there. So here is what we are left with. We've got our scallops on top and bottom, our line down the middle. So then I go ahead and take and fold right down the middle a couple times. Not too many, I don't want to weaken the paper too much, but just like that. And then you can go ahead and do, actually before I do my accordion folds, I'm just going to trim off the sort of little extra leftover pieces. This just makes it so that when we glue the edges of the rosette together, that we have kind of a nice sort of even surface. So then you're gonna go ahead and accordion fold this on all of our score lines here. Just going back and forth until we reach the end here, like that. And then I go ahead and just take this end and I kind of just fold it up. So where we will glue is right here, and we will glue this piece to this piece. So I just kind of bend it up here, and I kind of just pinch the paper to give it a little more stability. So like I said, I'll go ahead and take my hot glue, and I'll just put a little glue right here and kind of hold that piece together. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. Your glue will go here, and we'll just kind of flip it up this way. And again, before I put my glue in there, I always kind of just pinch the paper just to kind of bend it down a little bit. And like I said, we'll put glue on one side there and glue that. So the ends will be glued. My hot glue gun is not near my desk. I don't have an extra plug-in to plug it in, so I'm gonna go ahead and go, like I said, place the glue right where I said. I also place just a dab of glue right in between in the center. And I do the same thing on the back side. I put a little dab of glue right there just to give the rosette a little bit more stability. So let me go ahead and go do my glue, and then I'll be right back. Alrighty, so my rosette is all glued together here. You can see where I've glued here, added a little bit in the front and on the back. So here you can kind of notice, you know, is where things maybe got off a little bit. I kind of have this funny little piece here. So what I'm gonna do with this sort of little kind of odd edge, I'm just gonna trim it with my scissors just to kind of get it out of there. Just like that, sorry, there. And there we go. Okay. So yeah, like I said, it's, you know, it's not super sensitive to where if things do get off just a little bit, you know, it's not a big deal. You can kind of make it work however it turns out. But for the most part, it's pretty easy to kind of keep it fairly lined up. So yeah, so now we're ready to embellish it. I have a little 1-inch circle punch that I thought would be perfect. You know, if you ever wanted to cover the back, you know, if your hot glue looked kind of messy or something, that would be perfect to put on the back. Or if you wanted to put it on the front, you know, and add something, you certainly could too. I was also thinking some of these pumpkin stickers that Dollar Tree has out this year would be really cute, sort of in the middle there too, with maybe some ribbon or something. Just lots and lots of possibilities. I think these would make super cute, you know, embellishments, or like I said, if you wanted to make some bigger ones for wands, or just to add to projects or whatever. So yeah, that is pretty much it. I hope you guys like this tutorial, maybe found it helpful. If you know, have some punches or things that may work for you to be able to use to make some rosettes. So leave me a comment below if you enjoyed this tutorial. If you'd like to see more, definitely let me know. Thanks guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.